Hi everyone, Janey here. Welcome back. I have such a fun garden tour for you. I want to introduce you to Nick and Sandy. Nick and Sandy moved into this home, what, 3 years ago?
3 years ago, yeah, almost to the date.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, very nice. And you guys will meet Fig in just a little second as well, the cutest little pup ever. So Nick and Sandy, Nick, first of all, you are the conservation director of the California Native Plant Society.
I am. So I've been doing that, working for the conservation program of CNPS for about 6 years.
Wow.
And so kind of my whole life is steeped in native plants.
Awesome. And you've kind of brought work into home. Actually,
Somewhat.
both of you, right?
Yeah, so I'm also a botanist. I work in environmental consulting and education.
Nice. For purely natives too, or just kind of all around?
Well, the consulting work is in native habitats, but a lot of my job is identifying invasive species as well.
Oh, nice. Oh, very interesting.
So it's both.
So Nick and Sandy are going to show us around their native garden. This is a young garden. It's about 3 years old. You guys have done the whole thing yourselves.
Yes.
Which is insane.
So there's a lot of let's see, sweat and energy in this garden. It's
true.
It was
I love it.
lots of wheelbarrow loads.
Yeah.
And deliveries of mulch and all kinds of other materials.
And you have before shots, right?
We do have before shots, which
Okay.
we'll share with you so folks can see that it was pretty much a blank slate prior to just a couple years ago.
And I have to say, I drove up, I knew the address, but I drove up and I could see down the street, oh, that's their house, because it's gorgeous. I can't wait to show you all. Ready?
Cool.
All right, so let's first talk, you guys, about the native plant garden tour. What is that? That's tomorrow?
It is on Saturday.
Saturday.
So Saturday, April 27th, the Sacramento Valley chapter of the California Native Plant Society is having its annual garden tour. And one of the cool things is it's an opportunity to see a lot of different gardens. This one will be on it, obviously. And it will be, I think they have 25 or 30 or so gardens.
Oh my goodness.
So you can go all around the city and kind of surrounding, areas of Sacramento County and adjacent areas.
Do all the gardens look like your guys' garden?
I don't know.
My God.
I mean, I went on the tour last year and there were some amazing gardens, but this year I'll only be here.
Yes, you
So
won't get to see
I
any
won't
of the
get to see
gardens.
any other gardens.
Well, I have, I think, 2 more garden tours, so you'll be able to see 2 more.
Okay,
that
awesome.
are from the native garden
Right
tour.
on.
So, but this is beautiful. So, can we take kind of an overall shot, and then maybe I can show the? But do you have a before shot of the front yard?
We do. We do have a before shot of the front yard, and it has. And in fact, like the Google image for the Google Street View image is very much kind of indicative of what it looked like. It was first of all, it was flat. You'll notice that the garden is not flat.
It's not, yeah.
Which
you guys did that?
We did that actually.
Somewhat out of necessity, because when we dug out the path in the backyard, we had to do something with the fill.
Oh my
and
goodness.
So
you made a berm.
Yeah,
We made a berm.
And for a year, it was just a dirt pile.
Oh, nice.
Until because we
sure
did
the
the
neighbors
back and
love
the
that.
front. Yeah, the neighbors didn't love it, but we kept promising them that it would look good one day, and now it's here.
It looks so beautiful. I mean, you never, because I was talking to them both, so I don't feel bad for saying this, but some people think natives aren't pretty, right? Some people think that natives are ugly. You guys are showing them absolutely not. Natives are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the, we hear that a lot, that natives aren't pretty, and that water-wise gardens are often criticized as being, not as showy as the homeowner wants.
Right.
But I would say that when you have a native garden or a water-wise garden, you still need to water enough to make the plants look good, and also temper your expectations. If you don't want to water a lot in the summer, July and August, the plants will look like they're not watered.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off. But what we've done here to kind of combat that is we have a laundry to landscape swale that gets fed by our washer system.
What?
So even if we decide to water less in the summer, we still have this green splash.
My goodness.
That kind of combats that.
Did you guys installed that yourself?
We installed it ourselves, and it's in Sacramento County at least, you're allowed to do this.
Wow.
Which is provided that you've abide by the regulations and
Right.
rules,
Yeah.
which we did. And so it's a really cool way
It's actually over here.
It's over
Yeah, let me
here
see
actually.
it.
So
So do you guys irrigate this garden?
so I have been doing hand watering the whole time, and so many native plants there are a few native plants that don't need any supplemental water after planting, but most of them need some period of establishment where they're getting regular water.
Yes.
So for instance, this was planted in last November, so we're looking at exactly 18 months old. And I was watering about once a week.
Oh, okay.
So I was coming out, dragging a hose out by hand, giving things some really good deep soakings.
Once a week is not too bad.
It's not too bad, but it would be like my Saturday morning activity.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I would, come out with a cup of coffee and spend a couple hours dumping water on the landscape and keeping it looking good.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about California native plants is that there is no shortage of plants that bloom in the spring and look amazing. Like our California poppies are one of those, right?
They're all over.
They're all
Yeah.
over the place. They look great.
They're
and
almost weeds.
and sometimes they will bloom into the summer, but most of our native plants are kind of, they are in tune with how our climate is, whereby you have these cool, wet winters, and then as you go into summer where things are dried out and hot, they go dormant.
Right.
So one of the things that we were very cognizant of and very sensitive to is the fact that we wanted our garden to look good throughout the year.
Yeah.
Which means that we've planted certain things that have that permanence.
Summer
Things
blooming
like
stuff.
this plant, which is called the sacred Detura, or Detura rhytii.
Okay.
And it's not doing anything now.
Yeah,
it's
but-
maybe first starting to throw a few blooms. But this plant bloomed. It has these huge white tubular flowers that start maybe in June, and it bloomed all the way through September.
It's spectacular.
And the cool thing about it is it's pollinated by hawk moths and their relatives. And so you have these things that look like these insects that essentially look like little hummingbirds.
They're like hummingbirds.
They look like, I've seen them before. They really look like
And we would
hummingbirds.
come out here, and they fly at night or at dusk. And so we'll come out here, we're like walking the dog, and you would see these you could hear them before you can see them. These amazing.
And there's already something eating it, which could be hawk moth.
It could be.
haven't
Like
seen it.
larva
It's
or
probably-
something?
It might be too early.
Yeah.
But there's, it's already, doing its job as providing food for something.
Which I'm a little I don't even know. I'm a little scared of what's eating that because this is a very toxic plant.
Oh,
So,
is it?
Yeah, it has all these crazy, alkaloids, which are plant chemicals. They're
Yeah.
plant defense chemicals.
Yeah.
And so
But the
I-
fixed moth can deal with it.
they can deal with it. I wash my hands after I touch that
Do
plant.
you really?
Yeah, absolutely.
So just let me pause.
Yeah.
Botanist and horticulturist.
And
If you
We
couldn't
met-
tell.
We met in graduate school, so we did graduate school at the same botany program.
This is amazing. You
So-
guys are plant nerds just like me.
we're
so-
real plant nerds.
So welcome.
Yeah.
There's no buffer here. There's no one's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't spend all of our time
Talking and thinking and doing plants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's-
This is amazing. Let me see the swale. Swale?
Swale, yeah.
Let me see that real quick before we move on.
So we call it a bioswale. So it is very heavily vegetated now. It looked a lot larger, and in fact, I think the elevation from the bottom of the swale to the top of the mound, which is where that valley oak
Maybe
is growing,
Oh, yeah.
is maybe 4 feet actually.
Oh, wow.
So we actually have what I would consider shocking topography for Sacramento.
Yes, you do.
Which
I think you have more than in my acre. I think you have
Right.
more difference.
it's
And it was accidental at some level. There was just, we just made the best of
Yeah.
what we were.
and the plant that we've
Dealing with.
used extensively in the wet areas, and so this gets actually quite wet. In fact, when we're running like multiple loads of laundry through the laundry to landscape system, this will actually just be quite wet. Is we've used this plant which is called clustered field sedge, which is Orcherix praegracilis, which is it's a native sedge to
this area,
to this area. In fact, the source of
Central
this plant was a nursery called Escondido Nursery, which is just south of here, and the seed source of their plants is yellow bypass.
Wow.
So
which is right by us. Well,
like,
I'm sorry, I live in Davis.
Right. Okay.
So
yeah.
it's right by me.
Yeah.
So it's
pretty close to here too.
Yeah, pretty close to here. Yeah.
And so this is like very like hyper local. Yeah, hyper local plant.
And so does it stay? I mean, with the laundry water, it probably stays green like this.
Oh yeah.
All year.
No, it stays green all year. So I mentioned that like hyper local plant.
Yeah.
Not all of these plants are hyperlocal to Sacramento.
Okay.
In fact, this plant here is a desert species called I think they call it actually desert penstemon or Penstemon pseudospectabilis.
Okay.
And it's just gorgeous. And some of this was just like at some level experimental from our part. I saw it. Go ahead.
Some of the idea of planting more of the desert stuff here goes back to Nick talking about stuff that would flower in not just the spring.
You know what? Yes.
So we have a south-facing exposure right here. It's very intense, and this is the part of the yard that's right next to the road. And it's going to be 105 in the summertime.
Yeah.
So again, like the peridoma
or bladder pod,
which doesn't have its bladders on it right now, is a desert species. So it's going to be able to tolerate that heat. And actually, it's not as happy right now during the cold, having just come through the cold winter and spring. But it's going to look great at the end of spring.
Pretty soon. We're in the 80s
and,
next week.
and it's in some ways we plant for the summer.
Yeah.
So we've planted a lot of. Here, let's like walk over this way.
Yeah. It's so interesting, you guys, because you're right. It's probably really easy to do a native garden that looks beautiful in the spring.
Oh yeah. And so we've planted a lot of this plant, which is called, I think they call it common Madia or Madia elegans.
Wow.
Which is just gorgeous, and
this will be beautiful.
This will be blue. This will be beautiful. We've had
this plant
individuals of this species that have bloomed.
It's an annual.
It's an annual, but have bloomed for like four to 6 months.
Wow.
And it starts now and keeps on going, and we're just like, wow.
One in the front yard that bloomed from this time, and we didn't, at this time of year last year, we didn't probably pull it out till December.
Oh my goodness.
It didn't look so great in December.
But it was still throwing flowers.
Yeah. Do you think I can go up your neighbor's?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go there.
I actually noticed they've planted a native garden.
Oh.
We've helped them do that. So little cameo on there.
Oh, nice. They're doing a good job.
Yeah, so they're spreading.
You guys are doing you're getting the word out.
So then, some really cool plants, like, this plant that's called blue bush lupin or Lupinus albifrons.
Gorgeous.
Some things I planted and thought, well, maybe it'll go, maybe it won't.
Yeah. You didn't think this one would.
And I didn't think it would. And
it's obviously incredibly happy.
It's really happy. And at some level, okay, so we're here in the Sacramento Valley. We're on these very, very rich alluvial soils, like these soils that came down from, many, many thousands of years of erosion from mountain ranges, from the Sierra Nevada, and so these are very, very rich soils. That's why we have agriculture in the Central Valley. And then you plant some plants that are from like more lean habitats, lean soils, and they just grow really fast and are really happy if they can tolerate it.
Or they rot out.
What is this one right here?
So this plant is, I think they call it the Grand Colomia.
Oh.
It's Colomia grandiflora. It's in the phlox family. It's not quite blooming. It'll be blooming, few weeks.
Yeah.
So you guys have really stretched your blooms out over the season so that there's always something beautiful here. So natives aren't like it is beautiful. It is blooming.
It should be, yeah. And of course it requires some maintenance. So what we have to do is, we're constantly, I'm constantly out here pulling out things as they're going to seed, or letting them go to seed, and then pulling out the dead plants.
Yeah. So do you let things seed themselves?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, so like looking at this, this is like this big mass of Gilia capitata or globe gilia, and I planted some seeds like last year.
But
I planted none this year.
I want this in my garden.
It's the blue.
We'll have plenty of seeds.
Oh,
the blue color is fabulous.
It's just gorgeous.
And these are elegant Clarkias or Clarkia unguiculata.
This is Clarkia?
Yeah.
Unguiculata.
Yeah.
Why did I think Clarkia was like?
So Clarkia is a genus of plants. Lots of species in California. There are some that are tiny and some that are quite large like this.
Gorgeous.
I mean, yeah, it's almost, this one's pushing 6 feet tall, which is pretty cool.
And it's the
color. I think they've selected it for garden varieties too. It's not,
maybe.
It doesn't necessarily look exactly like this in nature.
Yeah.
But it looks like this in our yard.
It's beautiful. Tell me about this silvery one back
here. Oh, the silvery
I
plant
mean, that's
there.
like 10 feet tall.
Yeah, so this is, here, should I jump over there?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So this plant, so if you can like get there's a nick for scale, is a plant called Salvia apiana or white sage. It's a Southern California species. It grows. It smells really good. First of all, this
smells incredible.
This doesn't work for a video.
No,
you don't have smell-o-vision yet.
It smells so good, you guys.
But we were just actually remarking yesterday that this is also a plant that has tremendous cultural significance to Native American people.
Oh, interesting.
So this is like although we don't use it that way, but it is. But I definitely appreciate that that's part of its
So this
connection.
is white sage. Can you say the name again?
White sage or Salvia apiana.
Okay.
And so we were yesterday. It was just yesterday. Sandy and I were thinking like how big is this plant supposed to get?
Yeah.
And so we looked at some of the reference materials. And it basically maxed out in the books at 10 feet tall. And this plant is probably pushing 12 feet.
How tall are you?
I'm 6 feet.
Yeah, I would say.
And then it's just starting to flower.
That big one in the back is looking 12 feet tall.
It's taller than our roof.
And it's it's young, right? This whole garden is pretty young.
This is just 18 months old.
This is what you can do in 18 months with a native garden. Like, talk about bang for your buck.
So I think while you're here, it might be cool to point out this plant here, which people tend to love.
Look at that.
Which is, this is a plant called Calico monkey flower or Diplicus pictus, which is a rare plant.
Is it?
Yeah, so it grows. It's a very rare plant. It's native to south of here, kind of in the foothills of the San Joaquin Valley.
Kind of right when you go up the grapevine.
So right when you go up,
yeah.
So we were able to obtain seeds from a grower, and we've seeded a bunch of them out here, and they've done really well.
Yeah, I can see it. It looks like it's like tattooed.
Oh, absolutely.
So it actually is trying to look like meat. It's a fly. It's like a fly pollinated species.
Interesting.
So it's trying to attract flies.
Isn't that funny?
And if you get close enough, it does kind of smell a little bit funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would be. This wouldn't be a good day to smell it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's like that corpse flower that smells horrible. Sorry.
So So then we've planted a number of other kind of. What I would say is plants that are not so common in horticulture. We're botanists.
Yeah.
This plant here is Farnsworths jewel flower. Or Streptanthus farnsworthianus, or I just moved it.
That's right. That's right.
Which is a rare plant from the southern Sierra Nevada foothills.
God, it's so really, this is so neat. The purple
It's gorgeous.
flowers.
And then we planted it next to this plant, which is it's one of our blazing stars, or Mentzelia crocea, which is just, I find it to be just really gorgeous.
It's beautiful. It's really, really beautiful, and I like how you guys pair things together.
Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not.
Sometimes you gotta let nature do its thing.
So the other thing is like we've planted plants like this is a very local species called mugwort, or Artemisia deglossiana, which is it's a rhizomatous species. It grows, kind of grows in riparian areas.
It smells amazing.
And then plants like soaproot.
This smells like the spa.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like what you would want to get in the spa.
The native plant spa. So this is soaproot coming up here, which is it's a plant that has an underground storage organ that goes dormant during the summer and then pops back up. And I just, I think it almost looks reptilian or something coming up.
So is it going to flower?
It'll flower. It's not quite there. This one is kind of.
Look at that. Oh my gosh, look at that.
It's also taller than I am.
Oh my goodness.
I just am I'm in love with this plant.
This is just so, like, you come by here and you see how the beautiful colors. Sorry, Sandy.
Right.
But once you take me through, it's like, what? They're the coolest plants here.
Yeah.
Tell me about this area over here.
Yeah, I'll walk over there. So one of the things that happened here is that we in the process of making the swale here, we realized that we had kind of too sharp of a elevational gradient.
Oh yeah.
And so we ended up putting a little bit of a rock wall in here.
Oh neat.
And so we planted some of our native deadlias or live forevers.
Oh.
And we have some, kind of less common in horticulture, an eriogonum called Eriogonum tripodium. We have this plant that's...
You guys are total plant nerds.
Yeah, we're totally plant nerds. We have this plant
love
called...
it. I love it so much.
Cobb Mountain Lupin, or Lupinus sericatus, which is a plant that grows kind of in the coast ranges.
Really?
It looks gorgeous all year.
Does it?
I mean, look at these leaves, these silver leaves.
It's just so beautiful.
And
it's so interesting to hear you say where these plants are from,
Yeah.
right? And it's just like, wow, I can totally imagine that being in the coastal area.
Right. And then another cool thing that this is one of our paintbrushes. It's Castanea foliolosa, or like one of our paintbrushes. This is a plant that is hemiparasitic, or has a relationship with a host plant. So it's kind of stealing some plant sugars from another species.
What is it stealing from?
Well, in this case, it's stealing it from one of our monkey flowers. So here is sticky monkey flower, or Diplicus aurantiacus. And so we obtained this plant from our local native plant chapter at one of their sales. So the Sacramento Valley chapter of CNPS is at least one of the few sources that I know of where you can buy a two-in-one plants. You have the hemiparasite Castanea with a sticky monkey flower, and you kind of have to grow them together, at least to get them started.
That is, I've never heard that before. I never knew there were parasitic plants like that.
Well, there are some plants that are truly parasitic, and those are much more challenging to grow.
Yes. So, is it through the roots that it's parasitic?
Yeah, right. So it attaches to the roots of the monkey flower, and it's probably doesn't harm the monkey flower too much.
Right.
But it's getting a little bit of a boost, essentially.
Yeah. I hope you guys can see how beautiful this orange is. It's like touched with orange, basically, on the ends. It's the most stunning thing. I want this plant in my garden. I'm making a list.
Right. And then this is another, like, just, almost fluorescent plant.
Yes.
This is our they call sulfur buckwheat.
Wow.
Or Eriogonum umbulatum.
Yeah.
Which is a plant from the mountains, and it's truly, the color is fabulous.
Yes. So it's so interesting. You have desert plants, mountain plants, coastal plants.
Yeah.
Like, you have it all.
We're all
here.
over the place.
But they're all doing beautifully.
They're all doing fine. And this is a plant that we've grown to really love. It's called Sonoma sage.
Oh, okay.
Or creeping sage. Our native sages are wonderful. And this is a plant that grows pretty low, and obviously is blooming really nicely. We've planted some of our native grasses. This is actually our state grass, or purple needle grass.
Oh, interesting.
So
I didn't know we had a state grass.
We do have a state grass.
That's news.
The poppy is the state wildflower.
Yes.
So you have to have a state grass as well.
You got to have a state grass.
You have to, yeah.
What's the plant right behind you?
This is called bee plant, or California bee plant.
What?
And it's, I guess they named it bee plants because bees like it.
Okay.
But it's a pretty common plant. It lives all over California.
Interesting.
And it has these little tiny, kind of small
Little flowers.
magenta flowers.
Interesting. You guys, there's so much to look at here. I just keep turning around. I want to show you all. We're in a little
In a swale.
in a swale or a ravine, and we're just surrounded by natives. And we're in a neighborhood, by the way.
Yeah.
We're in a neighborhood. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
This is kind of where we started
Yeah.
filming. Things like Blueeyed Grass, which isn't a grass, it's actually an iris.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so pretty.
And then of course, like, people love our tidy tips.
I know.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, how do you not love this
How
plant?
do you not love this plant? This is so cute. Talk about another one. I tried growing these tidy tips.
Yeah.
But I grew it on like an east-facing bed. I don't think it got
Yeah.
enough sun or enough heat, and I gave up. And now I look at this and I'm thinking, what?
You just need to throw some seeds in a really hot spot.
Yeah.
I mean, look at it. It's
Driveway.
it's growing up.
growing
It's
in the
growing
front.
in the cracks of the
Oh,
driveway.
look at that. And you guys have to leave this.
We do.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Oh
have
yeah.
to leave
Oh
it.
yeah.
Carefully weed
Oh, look
whack.
at.
I carefully weed whack, leaving the stuff that I like.
Oh my gosh.
Little,
And then you
Oh,
know.
look at
so-
that.
little flocks.
Yes, you guys, this is incredible.
And then something that you won't see on this tour, you won't feature it probably, is our California fuchsias,
Okay.
which they bloom. I mean, we've planted them extensively
Mm-hmm.
because for the same reason that we talked about before, they bloom after pretty much everything else.
I think that is such an important message
Yeah.
for this tour, that people need to realize is that, like, natives, yes, there's a peak season obviously, but be smart about it,
Yeah.
right? And what might look just like a bush right now in a couple months is going to look
It'll be
just as good as the tidy tips.
And this
right?
is like,
Solidago as well.
oh yeah, like, so it's just starting to flower, but this is our goldenrods.
Oh yeah.
Those flower like super long into like, I mean, there are plants, I mean, they'll be blooming in September.
You know I'm gonna be like driving by your house.
You should, yeah, come on in, come on in.
It
This-
won't be this lush and green.
Yeah.
It's the hot time of
Because
year,
it's
but
summer, yeah. and-
But the California fuchsias, and then of course people know them as like a really good hummingbird plant because they are. It'll just be covered in these tubular red flowers, and then we'll have hummingbirds hanging out here on a hot summer night.
Guys,
So
look at this. What are you doing?
stop.
What are you doing?
Come here, come here.
Are you so
Here.
excited?
Here, so this is actually sit.
Fig,
This
show
is-
us your meadow.
This is Fig's Meadow. So this is, so we removed, so part of the process of developing the backyard into this landscape was getting a grant from the city of Sacramento, a turf conversion rebate.
Yeah.
And so there was some very, very sad turf here.
So let's show the before. You have a before shot.
We'll show you
Show
a big
it right now,
before
so
shot.
you guys can see what used to
There's
look.
some very sad turf here. And so the city allows, gives you like a per square foot price to convert your previous turf-based landscaping to water-wise landscaping. And so what we did here is we picked a mix of grasses and grass-like plants. We planted a lot of this same clustered field sedge,
It's beautiful.
or Carex progressilis. There's a couple of other things in here that have not done as well.
Okay.
We've planted, well, actually we have some creeping wild rye that's coming in.
Okay.
And then also some of our native fescues, or Festuca rubra.
Okay. And you think these aren't doing as well as the?
They just are not as
Well, the idea
prolific.
is that under the shade of the crepe myrtle, that the festucas might do better than the carrot.
And this one is, I think it's the prettiest of all the plants in the
Yeah.
meadow,
Yeah.
which is called June grass or Claria macrantha.
Wow, you guys.
But it's, I mean, it's just like, if there's a battle, it's probably going to be the sedge that's going to win.
I mean,
But the thing,
this is on my list. You know, it's going in my. It's
but
going
the
in my
cool
garden.
thing about this, I would say, is that we end up with kind of the look and feel of a lawn, or like, a lawn-like thing. And that,
Yes.
and we've had people sitting out here, hanging out here,
Yes.
and it gets a little. It's pretty tall, but it's also nice to sit on.
Do you mow it?
I have not. I have actually cut it back with shears.
You're so funny.
So.
You got to get a video of that, Sandy.
Yeah. So I come out here and I chop it with shears.
I would weed whack it.
Yeah. Oh, you
If I
guys.
So and then of course the dog is.
I was about to weed whack it, and then he had cut it with shears.
So there's Mr. Fig is grazing in his meadow.
Yes.
This is his meadow.
So in case there's other dog owners who are looking for the best tasting grass, Creeping Wild Rye.
Okay.
He's tried them all.
And he
basically only eats Creeping Wild Rye.
Fig, you've decided with the Creeping Wild Rye.
It's delicious.
Okay.
So I have no grass at my new property.
Okay.
We're starting it, but I will be doing this for my dog.
Right on.
Exactly this.
Yeah.
Because
This is the easiest.
yeah, I'll probably go with that. Maybe I'll give him a treat with the Creeping Wild Rye.
He loves the Creeping Wild Rye.
Creeping Wild Rye, it gets quite big, and
Okay.
so I actually end up even pulling it because it'll move in. It goes out of bounds really easily.
Okay.
I try to be careful with it.
Look at that. What is the ryegrass?
Yeah, well, so we have Melicas
Oh,
here.
is that something different?
Yeah, so we have
Oh, I thought it was this plant.
No, that's Claria there,
Okay.
our June grass. And this is our Melic, California Melic, or Melica californica.
Wow, this is really pretty.
It's a gorgeous grass.
Wow.
And then we have another grass, which is its sister species, or like close relative,
Yeah.
called Melica imperfecta.
Ooh, why is it called imperfecta?
I don't know, it's perfect to me.
Ah, you're so sweet, Nick.
Yeah. And so, we're growing a lot of columbines back here, and
beautiful.
Hummingbird sage, which smells really good. Once again, it doesn't work for your viewers, but
No,
you
sorry, guys.
can enjoy.
Oh, this is amazing. So this garden is very layered, not only
Yeah.
with, sights, but also scents and
Yeah.
textures, the grasses and all that kind of stuff. You guys did.
And then
did
I
good.
could we go over and look at our little rock garden that we put in?
Please. Well,
So-
first, can we talk about your pathway?
Yeah.
You guys installed this yourself.
Yes, it required a lot of.
Digging.
So first of all,
Lots of
it's like prior to this, it was on grade with the it's the same grade as this
The little
the patio.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't just like add a path here. We had to excavate it.
Dig it out.
And so
Oh,
we rented a little like Toro Dingo, which is like a walk behind excavation tool.
Nice.
And then that's where we moved.
Well, that's how we moved the material in.
Okay.
A shovel and a wheelbarrow,
Ali.
hand powered, moved most.
It
of
was
the material
so
out.
much work.
My God.
And so that's what. So the mound in the front
Yeah.
is the material that we excavated out of this path.
For this pathway.
For this path that also extends out. So it's probably like
Oh, Fig.
Fig
Wants to be on video, so.
he's very dramatic.
Hi.
Maybe like 20 yards of material that we
Wow.
moved from
It was just.
the back to the front.
Oh, there's a hummingbird over there. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
going to be able
cool.
to get
We
it.
have a resident hummingbird that guards the yard, I think, year round.
Nice.
So if I could say, like, what we did here is we excavated about 6 inches of material for the
Okay.
entire system here.
Okay.
And then for the entire path system, we installed
The metal edging.
metal edging, so steel edging,
Yep.
which was, it was an investment. It's not cheap,
Right.
but we love the look of it.
Yeah.
And then
I actually
we
just installed this
And
in
it's worth
January.
it because it's
Yeah.
gonna last. We want this to last
It's beautiful.
20 years. If we had done basically anything else, we'd be redoing it. And
Yeah.
So,
we put
yeah.
we put about 3 or 4 inches of what's called road base, which is essentially
AB,
gravel
yeah.
and
Yeah.
whatever that material is. You
Yep.
can find it in any gardens
Yep.
or rock shop.
Rock shop, yeah.
And
so
then
you did a couple
the
inches of
material that we used is basically crushed. It's crushed basalt.
that. Interesting.
So
I was going to ask what is it black decomposed
It's
granite?
basically it is like black decomposed granite, but it's not granite. It's
And
volcanic
it
in
was a little
nature.
bit cheaper than getting the gray decomposed.
Oh.
And we like the look of it.
It's beautiful.
It's a little dusty.
Eh.
So I mean,
It is what it is.
You know, it is-
Decomposed granite's dusty too. I
Yeah.
just put it in and it's pretty dusty too.
Yeah.
But
And
this
then-
is beautiful.
and then so one of the things that we're getting into is like
oh my gosh.
we're past the phase of having big places to landscape.
Uh-huh.
So a friend of mine told me that he was doing a crevice garden or a rock garden,
Oh my gosh.
and I was like, I want to do a rock
I
garden. So I
wanna
bought
do
a
that.
so I bought a book
oh my god.
and read about how to do this,
Wow.
and then we bought a carload full of these thin rocks, and then
450 50 pounds of rock.
Yeah.
Right? And then we made a mix, which is actually the same material as this.
Some of this.
So like pathfinds and plus sand and plus lava rock. And so we excavated a pretty, a decent, depth here and then filled it up.
So basically getting rid of the clay soils was important to improve drainage.
Got it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
so we dug out the clay so that we could put this good drainage material, which a lot of these species.
These plants want
appreciate.
that.
I mean, we're growing, and then once again, all native plants we're growing.
Can you tell me what this one is?
So that is one of our bitter roots or Lewisias.
Wow.
Lewisia longipetala, or so that's one. I mean, I love that plant. That's one of our native onions, or our scythe leaf onions.
Jeez.
Allium.
There's that one again.
Yes, that's
The pictus.
Calico monkey flower.
Wow.
This is a plant that we got from a botanist friend. It's another of our Lewisias, or Lewisia congdonii. So far as I know, very few people have grown that plant. We're growing some of the native rock ferns. This
is just the coolest thing. Like, so you would consider yourselves plant collectors.
it's essentially a plant collection now. Fig is he gets very excited on plant tours. And then one of the things, hey,
Yes, Fig.
one of the plants I'm most excited about here this is a plant called Thistle Sage.
Okay.
And if you videotape the leaves, you'll see why they call it Thistle Sage, because the leaves look like a thistle.
Yeah.
This is a plant that
It almost looks kind of like the weed.
Like a dragon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fell in love with this plant when we were living in Southern California and going out to the desert and in like the San Joaquin Valley.
You get fields of it.
I tried to grow this last year. I failed, and then I realized that what I really needed to do was to grow it in a spot that had really, really sharp drainage. And so this is that spot.
Interesting.
So,
this is your microclimate.
It's a microclimate,
perfect
perfect drainage. We'll see how things come back, because this is year one.
Yeah.
But we're pretty.
Well, and that's an annual.
That's an annual.
Got it.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll seed and come
We're
back.
pretty excited about. I am pretty excited about how the rock garden is faring.
It is very interesting, and I have to admit, I've actually never seen a rock garden.
Yeah.
I've heard of like the crevice garden you put in the stone walls and stuff like that, but this is a whole different level of garden.
And it
Probably do
wasn't.
more of this.
And it
Yes.
wasn't actually. First of all, it wasn't that expensive to do,
Yeah.
No.
and it wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
Although I will say that he suggested we do this when his back had just gone out, which
yeah.
seemed.
Yeah.
He was thinking really clearly
Yeah.
at that
I
point.
always think clearly.
The next weekend we got it. His back was better. And
Oh,
Yeah,
then you
so-
could do it.
So
I was like,
then,
wait, so does that mean I get to?
yeah, you all do all the hard work.
He had it planned all along.
So then
So let's do
so just kind of like we're going all around the state here.
Yeah.
This is Palmer's penstemon, Penstemon palmeri.
yeah.
It's a desert species.
Yep.
It's a desert species. This plant,
And it's doing
blooming
great.
now. So I don't know if you remember a couple years ago when it was like 117 here.
Oh, do I remember that?
We
all gardeners remember that
Right.
year.
So this plant flowered after that again.
No.
It was like, it's nice. It's really nice here.
It's like, thanks. Can I have some more, please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like, what are you even thinking?
Oh. Yeah. So how did your garden hold up with the 117? Probably not.
It wasn't. I mean, it was a lot of stuff was kind of dormant anyway, so it was fine.
So it didn't matter.
But some things weren't happy. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing was really happy.
No, my
Really
garden
happy.
was not happy.
I think we had already purchased some of our plants for the front. Which
Oh
we
my
hadn't
God,
planted
yeah.
yet.
Oh.
And so it was stressful because we were afraid that they were in pots on the porch, and we actually installed in a mister system
Yeah.
for the porch.
Yeah.
And we're calling
to
this now.
keep the plants for the front.
It was a rough
okay.
10 days. I
It was
remember it
rough.
being
It
10
was
days
rough.
because I complained every single day.
So and then this is our red bud.
Oh, it's beautiful.
You know.
So tell me the name of this red bud. so I
Red
know.
bud is Cercis occidentalis,
Okay.
and so it's western red bud, which is I don't know if there's any flowers left on it. It was.
The flowers were lower down.
It has these kind of bright pink flowers.
Beautiful. I'm obsessed with red buds. I
Me too.
love red buds.
We did plant bamboo as a privacy screen.
Yep.
Which is like a little bit maybe a little bit strange for a native plant gardener.
But I'm
But,
originally from South Florida, and I just needed a little bamboo.
You had to add your own
and
in.
in reality, this is not a water-wise choice.
Yeah.
But as far as as having a living screen, which is just like, you know, a green background for the rest of the landscape, I think is totally worth it.
It wouldn't feel the same in this yard if you didn't have the bamboo.
Right,
here.
and then
it was planted only 3 years ago as well.
Wow.
And the plants were maybe like as tall, maybe 6 feet tall.
Wow.
And
So
they got this high in like a year or two.
Oh,
So I think it's a good choice.
So
I think
then
it's a
one
great
thing that I
choice.
think is pretty cool is that since this is getting a lot of, you know, it gets water. It needs water.
You guys irrigate it.
We irrigate this. It
Okay.
has a drip system. It's one of
Yeah.
the few places that has drip. So I decided to kind of tap into that drip system
Yeah.
and grow a bunch of native plants that require a lot of water.
Okay.
So we have something like these plants like cardinal monkey flower and our native rushes, and there's like an aster called Symphyiotrichum chilense, or I don't know what the common name is, but anyway, so we're growing a bunch of really cool like plants that grow in typically in wet areas.
So this is your wet microclimate.
Kind of, yeah.
That was your amazing
Dry.
drainage microclimate. In the front yard is your desert and coastal. Like this is just, I feel like I've been all over California in this yard.
Kind of, yeah, in a
It's
way.
really, really neat. Say somebody's watching this video and someone decides, oh, that's it. I want to do a native garden.
Yeah.
How, like, what would be your first recommendation where they get started?
I would say so. This is not just a shameless plug for the organization I work for, but the
No,
California
serious.
Native Plant Society.
CPNS is so good.
So California Native Plant
NPS.
Society,
Yeah.
or CNPS, has a resource called CalScape,
Oh.
which has things like sample designs, and you can put in your I think it's even your address,
Oh my God.
and it'll give you plants that are good for your area.
No,
It
really?
even has links to nurseries that grow and sell these plants.
Wow.
And they're unveiling a new version of CalScape, which is going to happen, you know, like I think any day now, which will even be better.
Wow.
The other thing I would say is that so start small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go and do all
This.
5,000 square feet of your
Yeah.
yard
Yeah.
right off the bat. Start small.
10
See what
square
goes well.
Yeah.
The other
I mean,
thing
this
is
what we did with our rock garden. We weren't sure how that would go, so we did a small area.
Yeah.
We did another small area.
The-
Then you just keep going.
the other thing is, I would say, go and find some gardens or go on the garden tour. See what you
Yes.
like.
Right?
Go to the Davis Arboretum's amazing.
Yeah.
There's tons of native plants there. You can get inspiration from various places.
Awesome. And so, and even if you're not in California, I mean, probably most states have the same
I think
resources.
so. Yeah, there's
Florida does, I know.
there are a
Florida
lot
does.
of. I mean, I think there's a native plant society in almost every state,
Yeah,
if not
I
every
want to
state.
say, I feel like I've seen
And,
or heard something from
and so
everybody.
if you're in the
And in Florida, I know they have one called Natives for Your Neighborhood, which is
Oh.
similar
Yeah.
to CalScape.
Perfect.
But so, I mean, California and Florida are very different states. I imagine everything in between
Somewhat
probably
different,
has
Yeah.
something similar.
Absolutely.
so just find or then get inspiration from nature.
Yeah.
So some of the plants that we're growing here are plants that I've fallen in love with, going out into nature, and I'm like, I would love to grow that.
I want that one. I
And
want
so,
that one.
that's part of the fun.
Yeah, like you can feel like that. Like this is California.
Yeah.
It's so much fun, and I love how nerdy you guys are about
We're pretty
all of it.
nerdy.
I keep saying that, but I say that with so much love and joy. Of like,
Yeah.
you guys are so awesome, and I just want to thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Well, I'm glad to share. I think that hopefully if we inspire one or two people to do something along these lines, then that would be a really great thing.
I think you've met your goal
Cool.
after this tour for
Okay.
sure. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you to Nick and to Sandy, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.
Cool.